External cooling online.
Okay, welcome to another Orbiter 2010 video, and this time I'm actually just going to kind of jump right in and get going. This is a speedrun style video that I'm doing, and that means that there's a lot of failures, so this video may not get posted. Alright, what we're trying to do though is we're trying to go from Hal Base on Phobos down to Olympus on Mars as fast as we possibly can. So let's get set up here. Gonna load up Transx. And we're going to go to auto plan off, graph projection focus, advanced on, plan type through point, plan encounter, VW overdue encounter. And then on this side we'll load map MFD, reference Mars, target Phobos, target Olympus. Set the display type to orbit plane, and now we need to leave Phobos when Phobos is about 60 degrees east, so let's warp time forward to get closer to that point. Getting reasonably close. 52, 53, 54, 55. Okay, pretty close. Time to set up things and go. Turn on the APU. Turn off external cooling.
Using onboard O2.
Open the hover doors. And we're going to hover up till we're about 15 meters a second. Raise the landing gear. It's fast enough. Close the hover doors. Change the HUD over to orbit. Rotation. Shut off the APU. And we want to be retrograde and pitched down. Pretty close right there. And we need to be clear of Phobos, so let's warp time forward a little bit. We've still got a couple degrees to go here anyway. $58, $59, coming around to 60. That's pretty close. When we reach 60 degrees, we're going to engage the main engines. And we're going to burn until the minimum altitude is close to the surface and the off-base distance, or the off-plane distance, is down to 0. Let's go forward here. Okay, we're at 60 degrees, so full power on the main. And watching minimum altitude here and the off-base distance.
System reset.
And we'll back off the main engines here in a second. Okay, we're pretty close and we don't want to overshoot one way or the other. We need to bring the minimum altitude down a little bit more and the off-base distance a little bit more. But we need to bring down the off-base distance faster, so we'll put in a little more pitch here. Okay, gonna have to waste a little bit of fuel, so we'll go around to here. And there we have it. So we've got a minimum altitude of about 5 kilometers. Anything between 0 and 10, or even -5 or so is fine, but The problem with having it below the surface is then you can't see your off-plane distance. Otherwise, I really wouldn't care if the focus PED was, 3.38 something. I wouldn't care if it was below the surface, but if it is, I can't see the off-base distance, and that's more of a problem. All right, let's warp time forward and get down to Mars. Careful with our time warp. Okay, we're getting down there. Let's get rotated toward prograde. About right there. Switch over to surface, and we'll go down a little bit farther, and then we'll start the APU, close up the radiator, and roll the vessel over. Okay, we should have reasonable atmospheric control at this point. Let's go back to real time. APU.
On.
Close the radiator. And let's bring up... Let's start rolling the vessel over too.
Off.
Bring up aero brake. Let's target Olympus. Page projection. Let's continue the roll. Now we'll bring up base sync on this side. It seems to help me. Target Olympus just gives me an idea of how far off I am from the base. Number 1 orbit. And we went direct.
20.
Okay. Now, that's the wrong way. Let's roll this way. Start bringing that off-base distance down to 0. Okay, we're going to glide as quickly as we can to cover the distance between here and Olympus. This mission has to be done. I'm setting this up as a challenge. This has to be done. We have to land within 2 hours and 35 minutes. So we've only got 22 minutes of LOX left. Okay, off-base distance is almost 0. And let's go ahead and continue the roll over. Don't want the vertical speed to get too high. I don't mind climbing back up a little bit more. If we get up toward, 35, 40 kilometers, that's fine. But I do want to watch the vertical speed because we're still traveling fast enough that we could go far enough out into space that we lose control. And we don't want that. So we're 1,400 kilometers out. We're 2 hours, 14 minutes mission time, 9 minutes on the video. If I do this well enough, I think I can actually land within just like 25 minutes of starting. That's real time. Okay, we're up to 32 kilometers, so we'll have a nice low friction glide here for a while. And I do really want to focus on keeping that off-base distance really close to 0. I mean, at this point we've still got a lot of cross range, but as we get closer to the base, we don't want to have to make, 10, 15, 20 kilometer adjustments. Now normally it wouldn't matter so much about being that,
Mach
close
19.
to the base, but just due to the way this flight works, we just don't have time to correct being off from the base when we get in close. Let's go ahead and set up the attitude hold. We're still 1,000 kilometers out. This flight goes pretty quick, but this gliding portion here is definitely the more tedious part, because there's just not anything you can do. But it goes by pretty fast. I mean, we're already at 980 kilometers, and we're gonna do our attitude hold at about 275 kilometers. Just pitching out into space a little bit, getting the vertical speed closer to zero. You can see an aerobrake MFD. We're going right across the center of the base. And that's also
Mach 18.
what base sync is reflecting at the moment. 840 kilometers out. And once the distance is down to 500, we'll switch over to VOR VTOL. In fact, I would just use that MFD for this if it had a longer range, but we don't have any range on the VOR VTOL at this point. So that's why I'm using this MFD to help me make sure that I'm staying lined up with Olympus. Distance off base is basically nothing. We're at 22 kilometers altitude. Go ahead and let the vertical speed drop a little bit so we can get closer to 20 kilometers. We're almost at a distance of 500 kilometers from the base. Been gone for 2 hours and 18 minutes, and video time's 13 minutes.
17.
500 kilometers out from the base. Let's go ahead and switch over to VOR VTOL. That should come online very shortly. There it is. And when we're at 275, we're going to engage the attitude hold. Go ahead and pitch out just a little bit to eliminate some of that vertical speed. And while I'm doing that, let me just take one last quick look at base sync. Okay, we're golden. Okay, just eliminating this little bit of vertical speed before we engage the attitude hold. Distance is 300, so we're going to be engaging the attitude hold in just a couple more seconds. Okay, it's almost time, and right about now. You can see as we pull into the atmosphere, our vertical speed quickly drops into the negative, so that's why I want it to be close to zero.
Mach 15.
Aerobrake showing that I'm coming up to the base a little bit short. That's actually what I would need. I wouldn't even mind if it showed that I was a little bit shorter than that.
Mach 13.
But what I don't want to see is I don't want to see aerobrake showing that I'm passing the base. That's much harder to deal with.
Mach 12.
And now we're just braking.
Mach 11.
Got almost the entire back side of the vessel into the atmosphere.
Mach 10.
2 hours and 20 minutes, so we have 14 minutes left to land or we die.
Mach 9.
Still traveling at 1,700 meters a
Mach
second,
8.
but you can see how quickly we slowed down. We've already lost over, like 1,500 meters a second of velocity. We're 100 kilometers out,
Mach 7.
so we probably can see the base. I don't know if it shows up in the playback, but there it is. 80 kilometers out.
Mach 6.
And I just have to watch here when I get down to 5,000 meters or 5 kilometers. I have to disengage or else I'll crash.
Mach 5.
60 kilometers out. Traveling at 1,000 meters a second. Still braking.
5,000.
There's 5,000. Let's get rid of the elevator trim.
4,000.
Let's
Mach
roll over
4.
and
3,000.
pull up to eliminate the vertical speed.
2,000.
Throw out the air brake. Go ahead and throw down the landing gear. And let's see how
You are
close we can
cleared
land to
to
the base.
land.
Now, we're not going to land on the landing pad. We don't have the fuel for it.
Down and lock. APU fuel.
But we just want to get as close to the
10%.
base as we can.
1,000. 900. 800. 700. 600. 500. 400. 300. 200.
Watch the vertical speed.
100. 50. 30. 10. 2. Wheels down. Wheels up. 6. 3. 3. Wheels down.
Crossing the runway. We're down, and I guess technically had I opened the retro doors, I didn't think about it, we could have used the retro doors to eliminate some of this velocity. Didn't think about it. So we'll kind of turn, head back toward the base. At least we're down on the ground. But I do want to get as close to the center of the base as I can, even though I'm going to have to kind of do this long roll across the ground, which is kind of weird, but I've done a couple of other challenges where you do this. Okay, we're 22 kilometers out, and then we're going to head back toward the base. See, ideally, I would actually like to land, touchdown, like 35, 40 kilometers in front of the base, then I could roll to it.
Mach 2.
While I'm thinking about it, let me open the retro doors, because we do have some fuel left. If I need to, I can... I think I need to let off the brakes a little bit, because we need to still have 5 kilometers to get to roll forward. 4 kilometers, 3.5.
Subsonic.
2.5 kilometers, 1.5 kilometers. Should have started that sooner.
100 knots. Wheel stop.
Wheel stop, 2 hours, 24 minutes and some seconds there. I didn't quite catch what the seconds were. And we're 313 meters from the center of Olympus. Not too bad. Kind of a weird way to land, but the whole point of this challenge that I'm making is not to, you know, land on the center of the runway, but it's, you know, kind of like Dimitri's challenges, the Martian Moons challenges, and then he's got another one. I don't remember what the other one is, but you don't have to land on the runway or on the landing pad in those challenges. Rather, you just have to get to Olympus with your fuel budget that you have and the time that you're allowed. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. You start off this mission with barely enough fuel to do this and barely enough time. So we're now down, can
Using
technically start external cooling to stop the clock there on the locks.
Cooling online.
And we can turn off the APU. Okay, so if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button if you would please. Leave me a comment down in the comments area. And I'll definitely post this scenario online so you can download it and try it out for yourself if you like. This scenario obviously requires the XR2 and it requires that you have HAL base, but I'll put a link to HAL base in the description as well. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed if you like this stuff, and check out my Facebook page. There's a link to that in the description as well. And I'll see you in the next video. I'm very happy at the moment. 50, reference Mars, target Phobos, target Olympus, set the display type to orbit plane. And now we need to leave Phobos when Phobos is about 60 degrees east. So let's warp time forward to get closer to that point. And we're going to hover up till we're about 15 meters a second. Raise the landing gear. It's fast enough. Close the hover doors. Change the HUD over to orbit. Rotation. Shut off the APU.
External cooling online.
Okay, welcome to another Orbiter 2010 video. And this time I'm actually just going to kind of jump right in and get going. This is a speedrun style video that I'm doing, and that means that there's a lot of failures, so this video may not get posted. Alright, what we're trying to do though is we're trying to go from HAL base on Phobos down to Olympus on Mars as fast as we possibly can. So let's get set up. Getting reasonably close. 52, 53, 54, 55. Okay, pretty close. Time to set up things and go. Turn on the APU. Turn off external cooling.
Using onboard O2.
Open the hover doors up here. Gonna load up transects, and we're gonna go to auto plan off, graph projection focus, advanced on, plan type through point, plan encounter, VW overdue encounter. And then on this side we'll load map in that.